Coincidentally, during Hari Raya Haji, the biggest outbreak of fire in Singapore occurred in the squatter settlement in the Bukit Ho Swee area. A combination of factors such as strong winds, oil and petrol from the nearby go-downs transformed the fire that started at 3:30 p.m. in Kampong Tiong Bahru into a raging inferno. The fire peaked at 8 p.m. with 22 fire engines deployed to the scene. It was finally contained near Delta Circus. Although the casualty count amounted to 4, the destruction caused was massive. An area of about 100 acres, about 0.4 square kilometers, consisting of a school, a coffee mill, 2 oil mills, 2 junk shops, 2 tire shops, 3 timber yards, and 3 workshops were destroyed in the disaster. A total number of 2,833 families, comprising 15,694 people, were left homeless.
Outbreak of the fire, about 8,000 fire victims were temporarily housed in 5 schools located in the Kim Seng Road area. The schools functioned as relief centres for the next 13 days until relocation was possible. The City Council Water Department rushed to lay gas, water pipes and huge stoves overnight. Woon Wah Siang, who was then the chief of the Social Welfare Department, together with his team, ensured relief and rehabilitation for the fire victims. Many organisations, including the General Hospital, the Red Cross, the St. John Ambulance Brigade, Singapore Work Brigade, the British Army, Singapore Military Forces, and other volunteer organisations also came forward to contribute their services and launch fundraising activities. Basic items such as clothing and blankets were provided to the fire victims. Army trucks delivered 6,000 blankets, 3,000 mattresses, as well as food, cutlery, plates, and other necessities. Order had to be maintained in the relief centres, where volunteers helped to man the drink and food lines. Visiting hours to the relief centres were restricted to between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. in an effort to prevent unscrupulous people from exploiting the situation and depriving the victims of food and other amenities. Widespread looting soon occurred at the fire site, although the area was cordoned off and policed by Gurkha platoons, the army, and the police. The Bukit Ho Swee Fire National Relief Fund Committee, headed by then Minister for Labour and Law K. M. Brin, was established just 2 days after the fire with an initial donation of $250,000 from the government. An island-wide collection of money started immediately, and the total funds collected amounted to $584,202.17. The Bukit Ho Swee fire is a historical precedent in many ways. The disaster resulted in the convening of a special sitting of the Legislative Assembly, during which the government passed a motion to acquire the fire site for redevelopment into a low-cost housing area, and also amended the Land Acquisition Ordinance. The amendment of the ordinance allowed land that had been devastated by fire to be acquired by the government at not more than a third of the original value of the vacant site, unless specified otherwise by the minister. This amendment was carried out to prevent landlords from unduly benefiting from an appreciation in the value of their land.
A day after the fire, the Prime Minister visited the victims of the relief centres and promised them new homes at the site of the fire within 9 months. In the meantime, new flats and estates like in Queenstown were immediately made available for the victims, but still, the Housing and Development Board had to tackle the task of rebuilding Bukit Ho Swee for the affected families.
This shed light on the fact that Singapore had issues on construction management, as according to Lim Kan San, the chairman of HDB at that time, said, "Never before has the Singapore construction industry undertaken to build on such a massive scale." They had a 5-year plan to build at least 10,000 units and over and above that, and they met this challenge of resettling about 16,000 fire victims. It is a question of management, how you bring all the components of such massive construction together and put them on schedule.
Only when the Bukit Ho Swee fire happened did people realize this weakness in the country's construction industry. To keep on schedule, work began immediately after the government acquired the fire site and its surrounding areas. Emergency one-room flats were constructed at a rate of 3.5 units a day. Within weeks, a new housing estate began to take shape. By February 1962, more than 3,000 flats were completed and ready for occupation. By that time too, all the affected families had been allocated new homes, either in the new flats of Bukit Ho Swee or the other housing estate. Thanks to their productivity, they were able to overcome the challenge of mass construction. Instead of the kampong houses in Bukit Ho Swee, there were modern high-rise buildings and social amenities like community centres, schools, and children's playgrounds. The fires also shed light on issues of slum areas. Did you know that 7 years later, a fire wiped out the remnants of Kampong Bukit Ho Swee, a 3-acre site with some 200 wooden and atap houses? This fire, which started near the spot where the 1961 fire began, razed the homes of about 3,000 people. Similarly, strong winds were one of the factors that contributed to the fast-moving fire. In response to this fire, the government highlighted the hazards of living in slum areas and rehoused most of the affected families within a day. The Bukit Ho Swee area was then gradually transformed into a public housing estate. The fire, site clearance, and rebuilding marked a key moment in the nationwide public housing and kampong clearance program, leading to the transformation of the social and physical landscape of Singapore. The relocation of the former villages to public housing also allowed the government to integrate them into the state-sanctioned formal economy, advancing the development of the nation.